Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga on the Game Boy Advance was my first RPG, and Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door is one of my favorite games of all time. Oh, I can't wait for that Switch re-release. But today, we're talking about Mario's first RPG adventure, Super Mario RPG, both the remake and a small bit of the original. If you have been watching my content a while, it is obvious I am a big Final Fantasy fan. But believe it or not, it is actually this game that got me into that franchise. More on that in a bit, but is a remake of this game necessary? Well, I would say it is more of a would like to have, but man, do I appreciate that they remade this game. In fact, I think I like it more than the Super Nintendo original. But enough rambling, let's get to the review. I had first experienced this game through the Wii Virtual Console back in, we'll say 2008. Wow, has it really been that long? I don't recall playing any Square Enix games before this one, but I did recognize the Square brand. But now you know my eyes and ears perk up when I see the Square Enix logo on the screen in my reaction videos. I boot up the game and it starts out as your typical Mario story. Bowser has kidnapped Peach yet again, but as you are rescuing her, a giant sword that is taller than Bowser's castle descends from the sky and into Bowser's castle. They all three get whisked away into different places. Super Mario RPG is a turn-based RPG. You come in contact with the enemy, the game loads a separate screen for combat, and you take turns attacking each other. This game in particular has timed hits, meaning push the A button at just the right time when you attack does more damage. When defending, damage from the enemy is reduced when pushed at the right time. The Switch Remake, on the other hand, adds exclamation points for a split second, letting you know when to push the A button. I was concerned this would make the game easy at first. I even looked in the menu to see if there was an option to turn it off. There wasn't, but it actually makes sense as it adds a little tweak to the combat of the original. If you push the button when defending at frame perfect timing, you actually don't take any damage. If you push A at frame perfect timing when attacking, it actually attacks surrounding enemies. So does this make the Switch version easier? Perhaps just a little bit, but it is a quality of life focused remake that has improved on the original in some ways that I think makes this new version more fun. At least in my opinion. Not too far into the game, you would meet Mallow, and I gotta say, I like how this game has like actual cutscenes, but I do think it's a little weird how they have subtitles and are not voiced. I mean, it makes sense when Final Fantasy VII does it, but for a retro game being modernized, it's odd. The original has a hidden treasure side quest, but the remake improves on it by having an indicator that there is one in the area. This is something I appreciate because I like to avoid using a guide or the internet whenever possible. Although, how are you supposed to find Great Guy's Casino without a guide? Shut up! One thing I do think is better about the original is when going from the world map to a level, the load times on the Switch version is like 3 seconds. It's not too terrible, but the original was instantaneous, so that few seconds I found very noticeable, but it also looks like they fixed it in a patch. I don't know, maybe I got used to it. Fast forwarding to when I got Geno, man do I miss that Bruce Lee reference from the original. Now that I have 3 players, do you see that circular meter that fills up with a percentage? That is new to the Switch remake. When it's full, you can do triple attacks, and which ones you do depends on which 3 characters you are using. I mostly do the ones that do a lot of damage, and I gotta say, these look pretty cool. You do eventually get Bowser and Peach, which makes 5 playable characters in this game. Another new thing to the Switch version is you can swap out characters mid-battle, even if one of the characters gets a KO or is inflicted with sleep, poison, or something like that. I do not know of any retro turn-based RPGs that let you do this, but when I played Final Fantasy X, this was a feature I did not know I would appreciate so much, as it really saves me the trouble of having to exit a battle to get the character I need for a particular encounter. It's a feature that I've noticed included in more modern RPGs, so it's a plus for me. I remember years ago on the original, I maxed out character levels to 30 and beat Coolx, who is the super boss of these games. I don't remember how the boss played out, but I remember it took a while. I cannot say he was that hard in this version, considering that you can swap out your dead characters, and I would say that triple attacks make it go by faster. However, the remake does add post-game bosses. I'm still working my way through these, and they are hard. Dealing with Bellum's status effects again was a little annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Punchinella does one-hit KO, so swapping characters out feels necessary. Time to switch to easy mode to grind out those levels. Don't laugh at me. I'll put it back on normal when I'm done. So you may have noticed I have not said much about the story. There are games I play for the story, but not Mario games. In fact, does anybody play Mario games for the story? It's mainly just this giant sword that breaks the Star World, which allows people to wish upon a star on top of being invasive and disrupting people's lives. You collect 7 stars, defeat Smithy, and everything's back to normal. That's it. Characters, Mario, I still play his games every year. Mallow looks like a cloud, but finds out he was not a frog like he was raised. That's shocking. I do like Bowser in this game, as he has his pride, feels humiliated that Smithy took over his castle, and has self-appointed himself as the leader. I use Peach a lot for her healing abilities, and I do like a lot of Geno's special moves. But the one main problem I have with this game, and in my opinion is the only thing wrong with both of these versions, is that it's too short. I mean, I get this is something people who do not like their games too long like, but there's a reason I love Final Fantasy VII and Persona 5. Those games are long and they are fun every second, as this game only takes 15 hours to beat the main scenario. The Super Nintendo version obviously uses 2D sprites. It's bright, colorful, and I think it looks great still, but I think I do like Donkey Kong Country's graphics more, as it seems like there's more frames of animation, and this is coming from someone who watches anime. I also like how Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger look more square. Can we please have HD 2D remakes of these games? I mean, there's a reason I praise the graphics of Sea of Stars to the moon and back. But back to Mario RPG. Now that we have the 3D remake, I think it improves on the original's presentation. And I'm saying that as someone who prefers the PSP version of Final Fantasy IV over the DS one. Comparing these two games, there's a massive improvement in details thanks to HD. The original game tends to have smaller details that are hard to make out, like I did not notice those eyes on the pogo stick until I played the remake. Also, I look at Bellum in the original and I think, what am I looking at here? And the remake, I can see that's a dog combined with something. I can also see this Final Fantasy VI Magitech armor right here. I think the animations are better as well, except one. Both the original and remastered soundtracks are fantastic. I love that the Coolx boss plays a Final Fantasy song, and the Forest Maze theme is one of my favorite video game songs, period. I also like how the remastered boss theme sounds like the theme song to Rush Hour. Can you see how this game got me into Final Fantasy? The game is from the creators of Final Fantasy, turn-based combat, and a Final Fantasy song playing for the super boss. Man, would I have ever gotten into Final Fantasy without this game? I did say the Resident Evil 4 remake replaces the original, as I could not get into the original version of that game. For this game though, I do enjoy the Super Nintendo original, but I like the remake more because it improves upon it in my opinion. The original is still a good option, although it is not my favorite RPG on the Super Nintendo, as that would be more like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, but this game still deserves credit for getting me into Final Fantasy years ago. Busy people might find find the short length a good thing, but it's a flaw to me in my honest opinion. I would give the original Super Nintendo version an A, and I would give the remake an S. Original or remake, Super Mario RPG is still a great game after all these years, and I think it's a good starting point into JRPGs if you are looking to get into the genre. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and take care.